What are some of the techniques and tools that help you to stay on top of your game?
Yeah. I think, okay, so I was running through a few things. Knowledge is power. So knowing the landscape for your sector is crucial. You might get that through your professional organisations. You might get that through the connections and networks that we've talked about earlier. So, knowledge, that certainly would be my first tip. Keep building your knowledge. The second one is professional learning. Always, always, always. All the opportunities you can think of for engaging in professional learning. Now, the last few months, I think there have been really fabulous opportunities for professional learning. I don't know about in the health sector, but certainly in the education sector, there's been so much put out there free, actually, digitally. And so I signed myself up for a course with Leeds Beckett, a free course. Well, it was a lecturer from Leeds Beckett. She was doing a free open learning course about social change. I've been to a few coaching sessions with somebody. I think he mainly works with the health sector, actually. I've done some digital learning. So, I've just thrown myself at new experiences. But I think doing that, as much as you can fit in regularly is another way to keep yourself at the top of your game. The third one I thought is allies. I say this a lot to people. You find your allies because they are the great sounding boards, but they are also the people that might be able to help you get something through the boardroom or that kind of thing. So, and of course, we know what the opposite of allies is.
So when you talk about allies, would you just elaborate a bit on that?
It's perhaps the people that share your vision and enthusiasm. They're kind of on your side. So they're going to be helpful, work with you to realise some kind of new thing you're trying to roll out, whatever that might be in your particular sector. Because often you'll definitely find people who are not. And so know who's who. I was listening to Sandy Toksvig talking recently about the Women's Equality Party, and I think she used a phrase something like it's winning the argument, not winning the seat, or something like that. And I thought that made me think of sometimes, the winning the argument can be more important. And I've been in situations where the thing I wanted to happen, I got it to happen, but it didn't necessarily look like it was coming from me. I channeled it through in another direction.
Being tactical, so to say.
Yeah, being tactical. I won, got my way. But so sometimes it's not always. That's another thing about finding your allies.
Yeah.
So that's just
and these allies don't, earlier on we talked about not men in suits and stuff like that. When it comes to allies, it's everyone.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, absolutely. It can be at all sorts of levels, really. Boardroom navigation, we said we'd say a bit about that, didn't we? I think one of the best, or even relationships with your line manager, some of the best tips I've had is about how you enter those spaces. So if you are in a role where you regularly go for meetings with your line manager, who might sit on the board or something like that, is you control the agenda. Write up all the notes about the things you're going to say first, and you take it in with you, so they don't have to do any work. They don't have to do the work and take the notes because you've already written them. But it's something about taking control. So you might feel in terms of the hierarchy, you're going to report to, and that can put you in a funny space. But actually, if you can take control, set out the agenda, maybe look at what they want to talk about, but you may well be adding things too. But take your set of notes ready, even typed up ready. There you go. I think, taking that kind of control in those kind of relationships is really powerful.
Okay.
I mean, in boardrooms as well, sometimes it depends what kind of environment it is. I'm on a board, there's two of us as women, the rest as men. You have to just find your techniques for your voice literally to be heard sometimes. But again, be prepared, present your papers. You might even pop around and see if people have read them beforehand. Who knows? It depends on how much influence you want to have. But approach it expecting to be heard. I would say is that. And then my final sort of I had two more little tips is think I can rather than your default position being, oh, it's really hard, I don't know how I'm going to do it. Begin by thinking I can. Only today I was trying to set up breakout rooms on
Zoom.
Well, they might do now. Yeah, so I was trying to work them out, and the settings weren't right. Now, what I defaulted to was messaging a techie friend.
Mhm.
But he knew no better than me anyway, and he just Googled it. I thought, oh, why am I even asking him? And it wouldn't really work out. And I just did it. By the time he got back to me, I'd sorted it. But that's because I fell into that pattern of, oh, it's so hard. I'm just, actually I could do it, and I can, and I did. So I think sometimes we have to remind ourselves, yes, I can. It just feels hard.
Yeah.
And then my final one is, I think it's particularly for women, is don't preface things with, I'm sorry, I don't mean to, would you mind? All that kind of language. And we put it in emails. You see it in emails. You hear it. And sometimes I reflect it back to people saying, this is what you just said. This is what you just said. I have to do it to myself, so I have to check myself. It's almost like we've been conditioned into ingratiating ourselves into spaces with the language that we use. So I pay attention to the language that you use in your communications, if they're on email or even, verbally, and try and avoid that apologetic stance to begin with.
Tara Moore has written a book. It's similar to Lean In by, is it Sheryl Sandberg? Yeah. So they kind of like talk about the same thing, but from two different angles. And one of the things Tara Moore said is a task where if you say sorry, you pinch yourself. How many times can you pinch yourself in a day? And also the other thing that you mentioned is doubting yourself and your own abilities. So a lot about, if a woman is asked to take on a project, the first thing they'll think about is, can I do it? Do I have the right qualifications? What course do I need? What degree do I need? And what PhD do I need to do this? Whereas for a man, can you do this? Yes, I will do it. Even if they don't know it, they'll just get on. So she was talking about women, we need to learn to actually be comfortable with not doing it perfectly.
Yeah, comfort in the discomfort, absolutely.
Yeah. So we always want to make sure it's, it's perfect, and life is not like that. We know how it is. You grow up and suddenly you're a wife, a mom, or whatever, and you have to learn life as you go on. We don't think about that. But when it comes to professional life, we always want to make sure we have the right qualifications, right papers. Jo Fletcher-Saxon, it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you very much for giving us this time, and hopefully people will enjoy this as much as I enjoy going back through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rena.